Hello. So if you clicked on this video, it's because you're interested in buying a new, bigger, or smaller home, but you already have one and you want to know how to do it and what to do with it. I'm Jamiah Howard, your favorite realtor, and if I'm not, I should be, and today we are going to be covering the basics. Buying a new home while selling your old one is not complicated. There are just specific steps that needed to be taken. Step one is always going to be talk to a realtor. You're not just buying, you're not just selling, it's not just your first house. You should be talking to a professional who can help you through the process. These are what will likely be two of the biggest assets you'll ever have in your whole life. Talk to a realtor. That realtor will give you a valuation for the home that you'd like to sell, and you can tell them what you're looking for in your next home so they have an idea of the price point that the home you need is in. Then that realtor will help you get pre-approved using the valuation of your home. Once you get pre-approved, factoring in the sale of your old home, then you officially list your house on the market. Yes, list your house before you start looking for a new one, and here's why. When you make an offer on a home, there is something called a contingency. The more contingencies an offer includes, the less competitive it is. And chances are, if you really like the house, so do other people. So we want to have the most competitive offer that we possibly can. Working with clients who are selling a home and buying a new one and really are not okay with having two mortgages at any point in time, I include something in the offer for their new home called a home sale contingency. This states that my buyer only has to follow through with the purchase of that new home if their old house closes successfully. This is a very risky contingency to include in itself, because then the seller of the house that you're buying is not only counting on everything to go right with our transaction, but the transaction for the house that you're selling. And if we plan to submit an offer that's even semi-competitive, including a home sale contingency, your house should be under contract before the offer is submitted to make it the most competitive. So after your home is officially open on the market and showings have begun and you can see some interest, you should be browsing homes with your realtor. Once you get an offer on your old property, then you should be good to go to submit an offer on your new property, including that home sale contingency. If that offer is accepted, it's pretty much standard closing processing from there. But the key to not being displaced for any amount of time or homeless for any amount of time is in another contingency I include for my buyer and seller clients called the rent back. A rent back allows a seller to close on Monday for their house and stay in the home after closing, after they've received their funds, until a set amount of days later, Thursday. So of course, we'd set the rent back time. We'd like it to be for as little time as possible because ideally you'd be closing on the sale of your house one day and then closing on the purchase of your house the next day or the following day. But the rent back allows you to successfully close and receive the funds from your old sale while having some extra time to stay in your old house before you have to move. So basically, you're renting the home back, and this comes out of your sale proceeds. It would be a prorated amount of usually what it would cost the buyers to live in that house for however long you're planning on staying in it. Sometimes the buyers can offer a free rent back to the sellers to make a competitive offer, but this is all up to negotiation. So for my buyer and seller clients, I like to have the sale of their old home close as early in the week as possible, and the purchase of their new home close within that same week. That way, having a week or a 2-week rent back should be plenty of time for them to get everything moved over to their new property. So all that is assuming you do decide to sell your old property instead of renting it out, and assuming you decide to time it right so that you don't have to take out any loans to cover the cost of your new home before selling your old one. There are several options for loans that allow you to buy your new house before you finish selling your old one. Of course, they come with fees and interest, so beware of that. There are bridge loans, which is a short-term loan for a set amount of money that allows you to use that money to purchase your new home without worrying about when exactly your old home is going to sell or close. There's also something called a buy before you sell program. In this program, essentially the lender buys your old house from you. The buy before you sell program allows the lender to give you the funds that you would receive from closing on the sale of your old house before it's actually sold. Then of course you use those funds to go purchase or finance your new home. There are different programs out there, but the one I'm referring to is a 2% flat fee rather than a monthly interest rate. And in this case, the worst case scenario is that if your house doesn't sell, the lender recuperates the cost by taking ownership of your old house because he paid you for it and selling it themselves. Determining whether or not to sell or rent your old property is completely dependent on the type of situation that you are in. Some pros to renting out your old property: of course, you're continuing to build equity while profiting off the investment, potentially making passive income every single month. And you could hire a property management company so that you would really have limited responsibility when it comes to dealing with any tenants. But some things to be aware of: you won't have all of the cash ready on hand to finance your new purchase. There are also a lot of hidden costs that can be associated with being a landlord, like attorney fees if you end up having to evict someone, maintenance fees on the house, which your property management company will subtract from whatever your proceeds are each month. And of course, your pre-approval amount will be less than if you had a large down payment on your new home. Renting out an old home would be ideal for someone who is financially prepared without the sale of their old house to purchase their new house in their ideal price range. Basically, someone who's not reliant on the proceeds of their old sale to finance their new house. If you're making a big jump between price ranges, for example, if you're selling a $500,000 house to buy $1 million house, you may need the cushion from the sale of that old home to help you finance the new one. If you're moving from 500 to 700,000 and you've had some promotions in between, you may not need the proceeds from the sale and you may qualify for both mortgages at the same time. There are so many different options for move-up buyers considering keeping or selling their old houses and getting into new ones that fit their lifestyle better. I'm Jamiah Howard, your favorite realtor, and if I'm not, I should be. If you or anyone you know is thinking of moving up and ready to start something new, contact me today and let's explore what's possible.